Some of us, when we take a look at performance appraisals, we may have a scale of, say, 1 to 5, and the attitude is, no one gets a 5. I remember one company I worked at said, only God gets a 5. That was common knowledge amongst all of us employees, that only God would get a 5. And there were quite a few of us that said, no, not our president. He wouldn't even give God a 5. 4.5 maybe, but not a 5. And so we have a performance appraisal that has a scale of 1 to 5 that really is not a scale of 1 to 5. What does that do to our people? Well, this might be hard to believe, but my dogs actually taught me more about what that does to people than what any people taught me about that. And you might say, dogs, how can you equal dogs to people? Dealing with people is a more sophisticated version of the same things that were successful or not successful in some cases with my dogs. When I was a kid, my folks raised boxers. Squishy-faced, wrinkly, funny-looking dogs, known for drooling. And when you're 16 years old, drool is very cool. And so we would have drool parties. Now, what was a drool party? Drool parties where we would invite all of our friends over after school and set them up in the living room to watch our dogs drool on command. We'd go get the doggy cookies out of the cabinet. We'd hold the doggy cookie above the dog's nose, who was not allowed to have the cookie until we said so. And sure enough, within a short amount of time, the drool would start coming down. But I knew my dog had special abilities with drool, and that's what I was waiting for. And if I held the cookie above his nose long enough, he'd start blowing bubbles. Big spit bubbles. Fortunately, we had linoleum. But that wasn't all. He could do more. If I held the cookie above his nose long enough, he'd start talking to me. That's the part I was waiting for. That was so cool. He'd start talking. It would sound like he was saying my name. But if I waited too long, he would just lay down. Even though the cookie was only a ½ inch above his nose, he would just lay down. And he had tan fur and black eyebrows. And I would see the eyebrows look up at me. Say, Lucian, come on, puppy, get up and get the cookie. Lucian, come on, sit, I'll give you the cookie. Come on, sit, get up. Do you know he would lay on the ground with the cookie on his tongue and not chew? It's called learned pessimism. If I don't get what I'm going for, at a certain point, we stop going for it because we don't believe it's possible. If my boss has a 5 out there on a performance appraisal, at a certain point, I am going to stop. And I'm not only going to settle for the 4, I'm going to decide that maybe a 3 is okay because why bother working so hard if it's not possible?